This doesn't work if it doesn't work on your worst day. So
Mm.
if you haven't set up what you're doing, like I have 120 chickens out there. If my husband's at work and I'm sick as heck with the flu and I can't still take care of them, this doesn't work.
This is Dirt and Drive, the podcast all about turning a small homestead into a real business. Well, hi, everyone. This is Dirt and Drive, and we have Jessica Bowman from White Barn Farm today. And I am so excited you're here because I have been obsessively following your TikToks
Oh,
and what you're
thanks.
doing. And I know you were kind of like, oh, I'm not a big deal. But I think what you're doing is an incredible big deal because
Thanks.
you are working towards making your land sustainable for you and your
Mhm.
family. So I want to hear more. Like, how did you get started with this?
It's funny, we started with two raised beds about 15 or 20 years ago now, probably 20 years ago in New Jersey, where we lived before we moved to New Hampshire over a decade ago now. And back then, to be totally honest, which is almost feels weird to say now or is not as culturally accepted, I'm not sure which, we started kind of as preppers. We went down that whole rabbit hole of being prepared for emergencies, the end of the world, all of it. And then that prepper show came out that got popular. And that's how we started with chickens and growing food back then. That was the only reason we had like big 50-gallon drums of water storage and the raised beds. And I screwed everything up for many years and grew hardly any food, but learned how to can and learned how to do all that stuff. And I think starting on that scale and starting for that reason set us up to be able to do this scale successfully, because otherwise there's no way we could have jumped right into what we're doing now. It evolved over many years, but it started with us wanting to be more prepared, kind of being preppers, honestly.
Interesting. So you do a lot of canning. Do you do like freeze drying? What else do you
I
do for
do.
prepping?
So I don't have a freeze dryer right now, because the one we had broke multiple times. It was the first generation of the one big company that sells them. So we haven't replaced it, but I have so much freeze-dried food from having one a couple years ago that I think we're good for a while. Mostly how I preserve food here now is freezing and canning, pressure canning a lot of stuff, and dehydrating a lot of stuff. Like I hate kale. I hate the taste of kale. I hate it, but I love growing it because you can't kill it and it's prolific. You cut it, it keeps growing. You really can't kill it. So I dehydrate it and I make a greens powder out of it for, smoothies and to sprinkle on food so that you're getting kale and you don't have to taste it because I hate it.
That's such a good sneaky way to sneak in
Yeah.
vegetables to your kids too.
Yeah.
So have you ever tried massaging kale with a little bit of apple cider vinegar? Have you ever tried that?
I haven't, no.
So
I tried
several years
kale.
ago,
Yeah.
when I wanted to like increase my greens, and so I learned from someone like if you massage it with a little bit of apple cider vinegar for just like 5 minutes, it makes it nice and soft. And it takes away a lot of that bitterness. Then you can add like a dressing or make like a little
Okay.
salad, and it's actually
I'll
it
try it.
makes it palatable.
I'll try it because I have some growing out there now. I've been harvesting a bunch of lettuce and spinach, and I have some growing I haven't touched yet because I hate it fresh. So I'll try it.
So you started with prepping, and did you have
Mhm.
land back then, or how did you guys
Nope.
get into the property you're in?
Nope. So we lived in a small subdivision. Well, so I grew up riding horses. We had a small horse farm growing up and a garden there, but we certainly and my husband didn't have any of that. So we certainly weren't farmers or any of that or preppers or anything. So when we bought our house, it was before we kind of got interested in any of that, and we bought in a small subdivision on 3/4 of an acre. So we started with chickens, which were illegal in our neighborhood, but we had one neighbor and we said, if we give you eggs and we don't get a rooster, do you care? And they said, heck no, we don't care. Go ahead. And the raised beds. And it was because we only had the 3/4 of an acre. It's the best that we could do at the time. But, we've learned how to do a lot of things
Yeah, you can
because
do a
of that.
lot on 3/4 of an acre for
Oh,
sure.
yeah. Yeah.
So you got into the property you're in now when?
We bought this property. We moved to New Hampshire in 2014. We moved into this property in the beginning of 2015. We
Okay, and
moved
so
in, my parents lived here. We moved in with my parents while we looked for a house because our house hadn't sold in Jersey and we hadn't found a place here. What happened was to back up a little, is we wanted to move. My parents had moved up here. We loved it here. We'd been wanting to get out of Jersey for many years for many reasons. And we said, well, see if you can get a job because I'm in healthcare. So I sent my cover letter and I got a job up here at a hospital. And we thought, okay, you got a job, let's move. So we left with our house not being sold and no place to live.
Oh, so how much property are you on now?
I'm on a little over 8 acres here, and that is honestly perfect for us.
Okay. Well, how did you advance into getting a farm stand? Like, when did that start?
Yeah, that actually is fairly recent. What we started with as far as like thinking about ways, we started with wanting to be a little more self-sufficient, wanting to steward our land well, and adding this property didn't have any of the gardens that it has now. I grow on probably about an acre total, split up in a few gardens, and none of that existed. So we've slowly added it over the years. And one of the things we realized is how much we love doing this, the homestead and small scale farming side of things. So honestly, I'm 25 years as a nurse now, and my thing was I'd love to make some money off our land while still honoring our land and why we're here and all of that, so that maybe I can cut back at work a little bit. So it started with I grow everything I grow here, I start from seed, and it started with a plant sale. It didn't start with the farm stand. It started with let's have a plant sale. We're like 7 years. This was our seventh year, I think, sixth or seventh year of doing a bigger and bigger plant sale every year over Memorial Day weekend. But it started with that. You grow so much from seed anyway. Our basement looks sketchy anyway because when you drive by, it's the glow of grow lights all spring. So why not grow a bunch more and try to make a little bit of extra income off of that? And then the farm stand evolved this past fall. We do the plant sale a town over from here because our next door neighbor, up until she passed this last winter, was a nursery. So it felt weird to do anything like that right next door to her. We were friends with her, so we didn't want it. Just seemed not what we wanted to do. So we do the plant sale at town over at a general store over there. And then when she passed, we were like, well, what else has been stopping us from doing something on our property all these years? And it was mostly fear of putting yourself out there.
Mm,
Do we want people on our property? Because up until this past year, we didn't have any reason for anybody to be here unless we knew they were going to be here and we invited them. And, more for me, it's always more, do I want to put myself out there like that? And
mm,
the farm stand we're using right now is her old farm stand. We bought it off of her kids and we drug it over here with the tractor and put it in our front yard. And that was
aw.
last summer. So we started with fall things and pumpkins last year. And it's kind of evolved into remodeling the inside of it and what it is now.
So the plant sale is very interesting. So you weren't actually doing it on your property, which is
Nope.
a lot of people may not have enough space. And like you said, do you want people even coming onto your property?
That was
So
a
how
big
did you
thing.
find that place to actually sell your plants at, or how did you make that connection?
I think it's like most connections you end up making. It's like a friend of a friend or an acquaintance of an acquaintance. The town that my parents lived in, Warren, which is one town over from where I am in Piermont, we lived there for a little under a year while we found this house and remodeled it a little bit. And we made friends with the women that own the general store in their town, acquaintance friends, not friends, friends. So we approached them. The first year we thought about doing it, I didn't want to do it here because of the nursery right next door. Because what I was going to do was a plant, like a garage or yard sale type plant sale. So we approached them and said, what if we put a tent up over here and we sold some plants? And they were like, heck yeah, do it. And that's how it started.
Well, that's great. What are the things that you sold? Like, what kind of plants did you start with?
I do mostly vegetables and herbs, a little
Oh,
bit of flowers, but mostly vegetables and herbs because that's what I grow the bulk of for here.
mhm,
So it's a lot of all of the vegetables. I don't really start anything that I don't grow here or haven't grown up here because we're in like 4B to 5A, our growing zone. So it can be really hard because the season's really short. So I'm
mhm,
not going to grow like artichokes here. I never get a harvest when I've tried that. So I just grow the basics that I knew do well here. A bunch of varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, all of the things.
mm. I think you made a really good point as you you made and sold things that you would use.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people when they get started, they just are like, I'm gonna grow all the things. And
Yeah.
if you do what you would actually use, then if you can't sell it, then you can use it. Like you can it and everything like you were
So,
talking about.
for 2 reasons, I did that starting out, and I still do it that way, is exactly what you said. The first reason is the plants that don't sell, I just plant here, and I know that I'll use them, I know how to use them, and I know I like them, and I know how they'll do here. And 2, I wanted us to be able to talk to our customers and explain why this paste variety over that one, or why I grow opaca when nobody's heard of it because it does awesome here. Like I wanted to be able to speak to the things we were trying to sell and say, yes, I grow this and here's why. And what are you looking for? This is what you want. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
mhm. Exactly. Yeah. When people making that connection and being able to
Yeah.
explain why you use a product or why you sell a certain thing, it's very important.
Yeah. I think like don't grow anything you don't eat already. And
Mhm.
for me with the plant sale, it was grow things that I don't mind putting in my garden if they don't sell.
So how does it look now? Because so you transitioned from doing a plant. Do you still do the plant sale at the store, or now it's just all on your property?
No, I do both. This year we decided to do both because so it was, I think, our 6th or 7th year, and we have a lot of established customers over there now that are used to us doing the sale and ask,
Yeah.
"Is the sale Memorial Day weekend again?" We get a lot of that, and the store gets a lot of that. So we talked a lot because it's a lot of work to lug all the plants over there and to set everything up, and I do bench cards that explain what each plant variety is, and all of that stuff is a lot of work, all the little detail stuff, and just the physically moving that volume because it's gotten bigger every year. So it's a lot. It's hundreds of plants I'm moving over there. It's a lot of work. So we thought long and hard this year, and we had a discussion about that, my husband and I, is do we just sell plants at the farm stand? And, we feel some loyalty to all the customers that come back every year over there and that expect us to be there. And so we decided we'd do both. So I have plants out at the plant stand now. I just ended up growing a little bit extra again this year. I feel like I do that every year for various reasons. And we did both. We did the 3-day plant sale over Memorial Day weekend, and then I have plants out at the plant stand as well.
You said something really good about a little bit more each year. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of people when they start out, they want to make all these things or they want to make a whole lot and then they don't have
Mhm.
like a pathway to sell it. So I think
Mhm.
now it's interesting that you have like it's almost like you have two streams, the 7 streams of income, the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like now you have two, but it's still the same thing leading back to your property, which
Yeah.
is really cool.
And it's still something I know how to do really well, and I know how to scale
Mm,
really easily. So I think you make a good point about not trying to do too much at once because of having the customer base to move that product. But I think on the other side of that, for me anyway, is also can I easily scale this to that extent and can I repeat it? So if I want to do 1 million products at the farm stand starting out this year, right?
mm,
Can I reproduce all of them quickly enough to keep stuff in stock if they do sell? Or is it a
mm,
huge lift to make this one thing that maybe isn't worth my time or,
mm.
the income I get from it? I think doing too many things, you also don't have a good process down to make them again when you need to replenish or have a bunch on back stock, things like that.
And that's just setting yourself up for failure. Even if you're not going to sell
Yeah.
anything, like if you're getting into anything on a homestead, like taking on too much is just gonna set you up for
Yeah.
failure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get it. I get the impulse. I post a fair amount about like not doing too much at once and start slow and start small. But believe me, I get it, the impulse not to want to do that. And I have at times not done that. And it's either worked out 50% of the time, which makes you want to jump too far again, or it's
Mhm.
not worked out. And you're like, oh, I needed this reality check.
Yeah. I wonder if that's
Yeah.
just a certain type of personality that is drawn to homesteading because I feel like we're all very
Might
like,
be.
we wanna do all the things.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's hard not
So
to.
oh, it is. What you were talking about putting yourself out there, with, like,
Yeah.
the farm stand, but you also mentioned it when we were talking about social media, putting yourself out there. So what kind of
Yeah.
pushed you over the edge, or why did you finally be like, "I don't know if I wanna put myself out there, but now I'm going to." Like, what kinda What happened?
I don't know if I can point to any one thing because I was always, I dabbled in it a little bit and I would post some things, but I would be so extra thoughtful about what I was posting so that there was no chance somebody could come at me sideways and make me feel bad about myself. And I think what changed for me, and I wish it had changed sooner, I wish I could tell you this is the thing that would change it for other people. I think it's my age. I'm Gen X, I'm 49 this year. I just turned 49. I think I finally got old enough where I was like, why do I care what
Mm,
anybody else thinks? I finally had that realization in myself, and I don't know why. It was very freeing and very like, yeah, if somebody says something sideways, I'll block them and it's not going to affect my day. Like, I thought all these years that it would really affect me if somebody was mean online. It's like, I don't care anymore. I'll just block
mm.
you and move on and do my thing. And, it's funny because finally putting myself out there and posting as much as I do, and I don't post excessively, I don't have time to. I get so many people that come to the farm stand that I wouldn't have met otherwise because our property wasn't open to the public like this that say, oh, I follow you on Instagram or I saw your post on Tog or Face or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, I guess people do see stuff. Like, I'm glad I did, but I don't know how to tell somebody to get over that fear because I don't know if it was my age or if it was just finally like, no, you know what? I do want this to be a successful business and this is part of it. And I just
Mm.
accepted it. I think it's a combination of those things.
That's so interesting because I've been feeling the same way about myself personally. Just been
Mm,
putting myself out there with content, and for so long I
mm,
felt so insecure and like, what if
yeah.
exactly like what
Mhm.
you're saying, and I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's just the fact that I just made myself
No.
start doing it and then you get over it as it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
I'm telling people just post it anyway and you'll get over it as you go because I think I forced myself to get over it because I'm
Mm.
deal with so much hate now.
Oh,
Just
that.
simply on, like, mixing soap, you wouldn't believe how many people have an opinion about, how something is done, and they have to come after you, and it's once you start experiencing it, you're like, "Okay, now I've experienced, like, 20 of you guys saying this." Like, you
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you just get over it. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you kind of have to. I think that part of me also just accepted that it is our reality in this day and age, and it's part of my marketing plan
Mm,
for my businesses and the
mm,
farm, and it's just what I'm gonna do, I
yeah.
guess, is part of it. But it's not easy. And I get it.
Oh,
Just
no,
the
it's not
time
easy at all.
commitment. Putting, like, mean people or people that have an opinion that probably shouldn't aside, putting all that aside, just the time commitment to create any type of content is wild. I, like, didn't fully appreciate how much time that can take it alone, you know?
And how much work, yeah. So do you have
Yeah.
a process for how you film, or you said you just kinda impulsive with your content?
I kinda am to an extent. My phone is full of screenshots of ideas of things.
Mhm.
If I see something that I'm like, that could work well for my farm. But mostly what I do when I'm out doing stuff here is when I think about it, which isn't every day, but I will just set my phone up and put it on time lapse. And I have a whole file that just says B roll that I just filter all those time lapse videos into. And I end up using a ton of those. Once in a while, I'll talk to camera. I still feel weird about doing that, but there are some videos, I think mostly on my TikTok where I've talked to camera a bit, and it's mostly like a weird day where I really don't give an F and I just am like, okay, I'm going to talk to people and I talk to the camera, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mostly it's setting up B-roll cuz it's stuff that if I stopped to like film it in real time and not in time lapse or not just setting my phone somewhere, it would take me so long to get stuff done because it's labor intensive stuff. I just don't have the time. So that's what I end up doing. And then I end up at night after I eat dinner, sometimes I'll respond to comments. I'll make a post. Like, I save a lot in my drafts and TikTok. And then when I post them, they save to your phone. And then I'll use them for Instagram and sometimes our Facebook page. In the mornings when I'm drinking my coffee is my time that I'll usually post on the farm's Facebook page. Like, this is the little routine I've kinda just gotten into by accident.
Mm.
Mm.
The time-lapse B-roll, so you just film the time-lapse setting, but then do you slow it down when you use it as B-roll, like, edit that little
Sometimes
clip
I
out?
do. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You can slow it down, and I like CapCut a lot. You can speed
Mhm.
things up and slow them down in there. I don't use a lot of their templates, but I use them to edit videos sometimes. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I just leave them fast and I'll do text on the screen or whatever.
Well, so it sounds like social media is a good thing because you have people, like, coming to the farm stand who see your stuff, so it's helping you.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't know. I don't even know how, to be honest with you, to look at like my Facebook metrics and all that stuff in the back end. I know all that exists. I don't fully understand what any of it means, to be honest with you, and I don't know if I have the bandwidth to learn it.
Well, you're
So
so
I don't
overwhelmed with just the
actually
day-to-day of
know.
the homestead.
I don't actually know if it's helping me, but I know a lot of people mention it that I've met
Yeah.
through coming here. So, and I've sold some chicks this spring that way. So I've met some people that came and picked up chicks from me that mentioned that's how they saw it. So I think it does, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you,
Mm.
25% of my business comes from somebody seeing a social media post. I have no idea.
So walk me through, like, a day on your homestead. Like, how does your day-to-day look on things that you have to work on to prepare for selling at the farm stand?
Okay. It depends on the day. Mondays is apiary day, so Mondays I usually spend some time in the bee yard. It's usually not more than a couple hours, but Mondays that way if I don't do it on a schedule like that, sometimes things will fall through the cracks and with the bees then they end up swarming and it's a lot. But so Mondays I usually do that, but the rest of the stuff like today I just made a bunch of granola and flavored pretzels and stuff that was out of stock at the farm stand. I think what I need to get better about is maybe like scheduling in days that I do things because what ends up happening, and I don't know if this is part of my generation or my age or what it is I will know I need to get things done that day and then I'll go on all these side quests because I'll see something and I know that also needs to get done and I'll get distracted doing that. I have a lot of chickens here that I'm breeding and for a layer flock. So it's always checking waters in the morning, feed, moving birds around. And then the market garden. So part of my big garden, I market garden style, which is designed for selling produce from. So I have a lot of succession sowing out there and crops that need to be harvested every few days, like lettuce and spinach. So I know at least usually on Tuesdays, I'll go pull a bunch of lettuce, wash it, get it in the fridge, spinach, that kind of thing. And at least once a week, then I'm sowing the succession crop for that. So I know I need to prep a bed and seed a bed, at least one 20-foot bed, usually a 60-foot once a week, every week. So I usually do that on Tuesdays. So some things have kind of worked out that way, but then I get distracted by side quests that I'll see stuff that needs to get done and I'll go do that. And I'm like, I didn't get done what I needed to get done today. I guess I'm doing it tomorrow.
That
I
actually
want to
sounds
say
pretty
I have
normal.
it all down to a science with the amount of stuff we do here, but I kind of don't. I would say half of it, I know on Mondays I do the apiary. I know every single morning when I'm drinking my coffee, I usually post on Facebook. And then I go refresh waters for the chickens and feed and make sure everybody's okay out there. And I do my lap. And then I'm checking the garden and I'll weed or do something in the garden. And Tuesdays, I'll usually prep a bed in succession. So but the rest of the time, I feel like I'm largely winging it based on what comes up, I'll be honest.
Feels like you're just putting out fires all the time, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, something else will come up, and this year is harder. It's, more exciting, and I love what we're doing, but also a little harder because we had a friend who owns a bunch of acreage over in Vermont, not far from here, ask us if we wanted to grow some crops on their land. So my husband and I talked about it and we're like, that would be great to get all our storage crops like potatoes, corn, all the things that are in the ground all season that you can't use that bed for something else because it takes the whole season and it takes up a lot of space. Pumpkins, all of those storage type things, squashes. It'd be nice if we pulled that out of our space and grew it over there. Well, then I was like, well, what if we do a cooperative farm with our homestead group in town, like our friends? So we approached a bunch of friends. We had them over for dinner and we're like, "Oh, this is what we're thinking about doing. It would be an acre in production. We split the cost of putting this in. We split the cost of the seed and the seed potatoes. And once a week, based on the amount of number of people we had, once a week, somebody needs to go out, water, check everything And then, like we all helped we planted, I think, 300 feet row of potatoes a week ago. We all met and did that together. And then once a week, one of us will go out to maintain the space, water if it needs watered, that kind of stuff, check on everything. We'll all harvest together. We'll probably do a canning day together. So we added that this year, which kind of has taken a fair amount of effort because it was raw land, so we had to prep it from nothing. So that's added some stuff to our plates this year. And this is what happens every year. And I feel like all homesteaders do this.
Just
I'd say start small and only do what you can handle. And then we test how much we can handle every year. I feel like
well,
let's
the
just try a
cooperative
little bit
farm
more.
is kind of brilliant because then you're not just it's not just on you. Now you're
Yeah.
sharing that responsibility with other people.
Yeah, that was part of the idea. I saw a YouTube video a decade ago about somebody that did something similar, and it's always been in the back of my mind, but our property is not set up for something like that. So when this came up, I was like, huh, I wonder if our friends that also homestead but and also don't have a ton of land would want to do something like this. And it's just storage crops. It's just because we all can and we all have root cellars or however we preserve our food. We're all into storage crops and storing for the winter. So that's what we're
Well,
doing this year
that's
too.
great for somebody who doesn't have land to be able to do something like
Yeah.
that. What would you say
Mhm.
is like your number
Yeah.
one seller, the thing that makes you the most money throughout the year?
The honey, without question.
And how did you get into bees? I guess we'll start there.
I don't know how I developed an interest in bees, but I had an interest back when we still lived in New Jersey and just was like, oh, whenever we have an actual homestead or farm, we'll add bees, no big deal. And then I kind of researched it a little more and I was like, oh, this is a lot to know and a lot of work. Maybe not this year. And it turned into one of those, maybe not this year, maybe not this year. We're kind of busy, maybe not this year. I think this is my 6th year beekeeping. Um, and what happened was is I had an empty hive in my basement for years because my parents knew I wanted to do it, bought me one for one Christmas. I was like, nah, this isn't the year. This isn't the year. A friend of mine peer pressured me is what happened. So a friend of mine decided he was getting in the bees, a very close friend of mine that I also work with. And he's like, you should do bees with me. We should do this together. We can learn together. And I was like, this is not the year. And he's like, what in the hell are you waiting for? I'm like, okay, good point. So I bought 2 nukes and put up 2 hives and messed a lot of things up and took a class and read obsessively, became completely obsessed with it, became totally annoying to the rest of my friends who were not interested in bees. I'd send videos and wouldn't shut up about them, and it just became a side passion type thing.
Well, I think you said a key there. You said obsessed. So I see a
Yeah.
lot of people, they'll dabble in something. Oh, I'm gonna dip my toe in there and try it. It's like I feel like the when you become successful in something is when you become obsessed with it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. The general rule in beekeeping is that most people drop out and never do it again at about the 3rd year because it's a lot to learn. There's a lot of varying opinions. Bees can die even if you do the right thing. And if you're losing bees every winter, it's very expensive. So if
Hmm.
you don't become obsessed about it and you don't learn all that you can learn, you lose bees every winter. And then it becomes, why the heck am I spending so much money if they just die every winter? You know, I think being good at something, I think requires a level of obsession that I think it looks good on Pinterest, a lot of this stuff that we do. But when you're actually doing it, it's a lot more work, a lot more behind the scenes, a lot of learning, a lot of effort. And if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to stick with it.
100%. You couldn't have said it more perfectly. So we're wanting to have bees out here.
Yeah.
But I'm not attempting yet because I'm not in that obsessive stage. I go through different obsessive stages about different things.
Same.
Um, but so do you have like a hive that you would recommend for me to get started with, or how can I go about finding a good hive just to kind of start somewhere?
Where I tell most people to start is less so putting bees on your property and more so find a local beekeeper. And there's tons of us that say yes to this. I have somebody coming in a couple weeks because I said yes to this because we love to share, right? And we love to teach. Find a local beekeeper who will let you suit up and work some hives with him because
Mm.
I find with a lot of people when you're up close and personal, and you're like, "Oh, this is what it is? I'm not this scares me, I don't wanna do this." And it's not scary, but it can be, like, I get it. I think doing some time in a bee yard with a beekeeper is revelatory for a lot of people who think they wanna beekeep. And then if you want to dabble in a way that's stewarding the bees well, offer up some of your land to a beekeeper who needs a satellite bee yard and say, "Hey, I'll trade you some honey for you can put some hives on my property." Beekeepers that are at a scale just above where I am are always looking for other places they can stash beehives. 'Cause
Hmm.
they get to a scale where they don't all fit on their home property. Like, mine fit fine, I don't do more than 8 hives here because you can't if I do more than 8 hives, you can't walk in my garden without getting assaulted by my bees, like, it's too many. So,
Okay.
the beekeepers are always looking for properties to put a little satellite yard where they could do, like, solar electric, and it'll be fine.
So would you
Or
say there's probably a certain acreage limit for how many hives, maybe?
there also is a lot of times, local regulations that won't let you keep more than like 2 hives on a half an acre or 2 hives to an acre. There is some general guideline per acreage. It really, in my opinion, I think it's less about the amount of land you have and more about the local available forage because bees will forage up to 4, 5, 6 miles at the extreme. Usually it's within a mile or 2 of their hives. And if you're in like an area that has nothing for them to forage on most of the year, it doesn't matter how much land you have, they're not going to thrive there. So I
Mm,
think it's more about learning your local ecosystem and like knotweed is super invasive, right? Everybody hates knotweed. I have a ton of knotweed down by our river, a ton. And it makes me so much honey in the fall. It is a fantastic forage for the bees, a nice, dark, rich honey. So I have a lot around here. And you get to, if you get into beekeeping, you get to know when things are blooming and what you have. And, desert areas I think would be hard to beekeep, but I wouldn't put 100 hives on a small acre, but I think it's more about your local forage. And I think the biggest thing to get started would be to like reach out to your local bee club and take their intro class. I think the most valuable thing, even aside, like, yes, all the things in an intro to beekeeping course you can learn on YouTube and in books. And if that's how you like to learn, then rock that. I got no
mhm.
issue with people that don't want to do a class. I know some beekeepers are like, you have to. I don't think you do. Honestly, what I think you have to do and what you should do is hook up with somebody, offer something valuable to them, your time, whatever it is, in exchange for them mentoring you. Like, even if they can't come to your property, if you have somebody you can text a video or pictures to or call when you're in the middle of a beehive and you don't know what you're looking at, is invaluable.
Mm.
That will save you more time and more mistakes than anything else. Hooking up with somebody with more experience who's willing to help you.
Well, thank you so much because now I'm gonna become obsessed, and now I'm gonna have to find somebody to go to their property.
I
Well, because
have somebody
we've
tell
had this
me, yeah, go
we've
ahead. I'm
had
sorry.
this on our thoughts to
Yeah.
become beekeepers to have honey here, but it's just
Mhm.
one of those things. I'm doing so many other things. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
and it feels very overwhelming. So now I'm gonna have to find somebody, and it's gonna become an obsession after this conversation.
I can tell you there's a fairly steep learning curve to it,
Mm,
yes. But once you're rolling with it and you're a couple seasons in, the time commitment for me, even during the swarm season, the busy, crazy season, is about a day a week,
okay.
unless there's issues. If
Mm.
issues come up, then I'm putting more work in, but it's a couple hours a day or 2 a week. It's not terrible. It's just the barrier to it is the initial startup cost and the learning curve.
What would you estimate is like initial startup costs for somebody wanting to get started?
But I posted something and said, "Sure, get that $250 beehive. It'll be the best grand you ever spent." And that is so true. I
So it
you
did.
know, the It's better to start with 2 hives because you can compare and you can borrow resources. I just videoed myself out in my bee yard stealing some brood from one of my strong hives for a hive that's weak. I haven't posted it yet because I have to edit it and I haven't had time. But that's why tell people like starting with 2 hives is nice to compare. You can save a hive with another hive, that kind of stuff. But it's going to cost you. You can find the equipment for cheaper. You can find it used. Um, be careful with used frames and stuff. They can carry disease.
Mm.
Might be worth the risk. Um, you could probably start for around $500, but honestly, if you're going to do a couple hives and you're going to get into buying the sting proof suits and all the things, you're going to spend a grand before you blink. Super easy.
Oh, well, that's
You
good to
can
know.
you can
Yeah.
do it for cheaper, but I would say if you go into it knowing you're probably going to spend a grand that first year,
Mhm.
maybe you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Well, okay, that was helpful. So this has been a great interview. You've been
Great.
awesome.
Oh,
You were great. You've given us so much knowledge. I especially love talking to you about the bees. So
I love talking bees.
we may have to do a follow-up and just do, like, a whole bee conversation because that, to me, is just so fascinating.
I'd
You know,
love to.
we gotta ask the final
Yeah.
question that I ask everybody else. So what is your dirty little secret to success with your homestead?
There's so many little tiny shortcuts and things that I've picked up over the years. I don't know how to distill that into one thing, but I think the automating thing goes into a general have systems in place. So have systems in place. One a reel I posted a while ago, one of the points was this doesn't work if it doesn't work on your worst day. So
Mm,
if you haven't set up what you're doing, like I have 120 chickens out there. If my husband's at work and I'm sick as heck with the flu and I can't still take care of them, this doesn't work. What if he gets hurt? What if I get hurt? What if I'm sick? What if one of us is away? I would say set things up so that you know you can manage whatever level you're on, whatever scale you're going for on your worst day. It'd be my biggest piece of advice. Like, I have things in place here and set up so that, like, they'll survive a day if I cannot make it out
for
there.
anybody in
Yeah.
business or homesteading, anything.
And the business side of things, it's not necessarily a dirty little secret because everybody will tell you this. But when you're getting into any type of business like this, two things call your insurance company and get a farm policy. Do not put it under your homeowners and cover everything you might want to do. Tell them, yep, I'm going to do farmers markets and a farm stand and I'm going to sell cottage foods. Just get it all from the get go so you don't have to add it later. It's not that expensive. And two, don't just get an accountant that does farms and meet with them. Sit down with them before tax season and say, what should I be tracking? What can I write off? Should I put one of my vehicles under the farm? Should I do this? Should I do that? Like I'm an LLC, but that's not the only way to do it. What you want to do is sit down with a lawyer or an accountant that does farms before tax season is even near and know what you can write off, what you should be tracking, all of that stuff.
Mm.
That would be
That's
my two biggest things.
brilliant advice for anybody. Thank you. How can people get
Thanks.
in touch with you and find you?
I'm on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram under the White Barn Farm NH. The White Barn Farm is a big candle company, so that website was taken. This place was called White Barn Studio before we bought it. She was an artist, the previous owner. So I asked her before she moved out if I could keep the white barn part because our barn right off of our driveway is white. She had painted it white years ago, and that's unusual for New England. That's why she called it White Barn Studio. So I asked her if I could keep the name, so it became White Barn Farm.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you officially.
Yes, officially. Well, you did wonderful. You did
Thanks.
absolutely great. It was brilliant.
Well, you're easy to talk to, so that
Oh,
was wonderful.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. No, this
Yeah.
was great. You're doing great.
How do I follow you? Like, where do you post your other podcasts and stuff? I'd love to see them.
Okay, so the podcast is Dirt and Drive. So you can go to
Sure.
dirtandDrive.com and it will
Oh,
take you
okay.
to the list of where it's all with like Spotify, Apple, everything.
Oh,
And
great.
then,
Oh,
and
I can
that's got its
download
own
you on Apple.
social. Yeah, you can. You can listen on
Oh,
Apple.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's everywhere now. iHeartRadio, everything.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and then, my main stuff is Dragon Creek Ranch, that's, our property and how I sell tallow, soaps, and skincare, so it's
That's
it's
so
kinda 2
cool.
separate brands, but Dragon Creek Ranch hosts the podcast.
Why
Thank
Dragon
you.
Creek? Is that the name of the creek that runs through the property?
No, so I'm a big nerd,
I
and
love
I
that. I'm the
I
nerd
love
side.
I love dragons, I love, anything that's kinda magical, mystical, but we
Mhm.
also had a lot of dragonflies on the property. So I
Oh,
was like, well,
cool.
okay, so it's kind of got the avenue of the nerd thing plus the nature.
Yeah. I
My husband's name is Dan, and my name's Crystal, and our
Mhm.
last name is Roberts. So it's DCR, Dragon Creek
Oh, love
Ranch. So,
that.
and he's a
Okay.
chiropractor too, so he likes the fact that it's
Oh, no
DC,
way.
Doctor of Chiropractic. So
That's
he likes that.
awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. Very
Well,
cool.
thank you, Jessica. You were wonderful. Did
Cool.
you get back to all the homesteading? I appreciate you. All right, y'all. Before you head back out to pasture, remember, this is just people sharing opinions, not medical, legal, or business advice. The opinions expressed here don't necessarily reflect my opinions or the opinions of Dragon Creek Ranch or the Dirt and Drive podcast. Remember to always do your own research. It's okay to get your hands a little dirty, but keep your rap sheet clean. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe and leave us a review. It'll help us reach more folks.